On April 7, 1963, in the storage basement of the Diocese of Cologne, a maintenance worker named Karl Hoffmann opened a crate marked Kirchenausstattung. Entfernt, 1892 to 1907. Rain tapped against high basement windows. The air smelled of damp stone and rust. He was clearing space for new electrical equipment, routine work, nothing requiring documentation. Inside the crate, crosses, 17 of them, each approximately 1 meter tall, cast from iron that had oxidized to deep brown. They appeared ordinary, simple crucifixes, the kind that might stand on altars or hang on walls. Hoffmann lifted one. It was heavy, far heavier than iron alone should explain, and when he set it down near a metal toolbox, the toolbox slid 3 centimeters across the floor toward the cross. The crosses were magnetic, powerfully magnetic. He examined another. Same weight, same magnetic pull. At the base of each cross, stamped into the metal, a church name and a date. All dated between 1892 and 1907, all marked entfernt, removed. In the crate's lid, a label in faded ink. Kreuze mit magnetischen Eigenschaften, nicht ersetzen, nicht dokumentieren. Crosses with magnetic properties, do not replace, do not document. Hofmann reported the discovery to the diocese archives. No response was recorded. The crate was moved to deeper storage. The crosses were never catalogued. History remembers progress but forgets what it replaced. By the winter of 1891, according to documents discovered decades later, a pattern had begun. Fog drifted through Vienna as church officials conducted what they termed inventory standardization across parishes. The official directive, issued by the Archbishop's office in November 1891, specified all altar crosses to be inspected for material composition, non-standard crosses to be removed and replaced with approved designs. Non-standard. The word appeared in 17 separate directives from different dioceses across Germany, Austria, France, and Italy, all issued between November 1891 and March 1892. The directives did not define non-standard. In parish records from St. Stephen's Cathedral in Vienna, an entry dated December 12, 1891 noted, altar cross removed per directive, replacement cross installed December 15th. The removed cross is described in inventory. Iron, height 94 centimeters, weight 23 kilograms, exhibits unusual material properties. The replacement cross. Brass, height 92 centimeters, weight 8 kilograms. The original cross weighed nearly 3 times what iron of that size should weigh. The replacement was brass, a non-magnetic metal. Someone later crossed out unusual material properties in red ink. Across Europe, the removals accelerated. In Paris, on a cold morning in January 1892, workers at Notre Dame de Paris removed and crated 4 crosses from side chapels. Coal smoke drifted through the cathedral as the work proceeded. The removal was documented in a maintenance log. Crosses removed January 14, 1892. Reason: directive from Archbishop's office. Replacements to follow. The replacements arrived 3 weeks later, all brass, all non-magnetic. The removed crosses were sent to diocesan storage. No storage facility inventory lists them. In a letter discovered in 2001, a Notre Dame sacristan wrote to his sister in February 1892, "They have taken the old crosses away." I asked why. I was told not to ask. The new crosses feel wrong, lighter, colder. The old ones had weight, presence. When I stood near them during Mass, I felt, I do not know how to describe it, calm, perhaps, focused. He continued, "The new crosses do not have this quality. The letter is unsigned in the archives, though family records confirm its authenticity. By spring of 1893, the pattern had become systematic. Heat shimmered above Munich as diocesan officials compiled lists of churches requiring cross-standardization. The lists held in the Bavarian State Archives show 347 churches flagged for removal of non-conforming altar crosses. The criteria for non-conforming appeared in a separate memo dated April 1893. Crosses exhibiting magnetic attraction, unusual weight-to-size ratios, or temperature differential when measured against ambient conditions. Temperature differential. The memo specified crosses that remain warm to touch in cold conditions or cool in warm conditions are to be removed and replaced. The memo was marked confidential for diocesan use only. In different ink, a marginal note reads, "Why were they made this way?" The note is unsigned. On a morning in June 1894, during removal of crosses at Reims Cathedral, workers discovered something unexpected. Frost had formed overnight, despite mild weather. When they lifted the main altar cross, a piece weighing 34 kilograms, compass needles throughout the cathedral began spinning, unable to find north. The foreman's report, discovered in 1987, described the phenomenon. Upon removal of the large cross, all magnetic compasses in the building became unreliable. Effect persisted for approximately 2 hours after cross was removed from the building, normal compass function restored by afternoon. The report recommended future removals to be conducted when no navigation equipment present. No explanation was offered for why a cross would affect compasses. The cross from Reims was sent to Paris. Its current location is unknown. By 1896, scientific interest had begun to surface. Shadows lengthened across a laboratory at the University of Heidelberg as a physics professor named Ernst Weber examined a magnetic cross provided, briefly, by the local diocese for study. His report, dated September 1896, noted, "The object exhibits permanent magnetism of unusual strength, approximately 0.8 Tesla at the surface. This exceeds natural magnetite and suggests deliberate magnetization during fabrication." Weber continued, "The magnetic field is not uniform. It concentrates at specific points, the intersection of crossbeam and vertical shaft, and at the base. The pattern suggests intentional design rather than incidental magnetization." His conclusion: the crosses were engineered to produce specific magnetic field geometries. The diocese reclaimed the cross within 3 days of Weber's report submission. Weber's further requests for study were denied. His report was not published. A pencil note on his manuscript copy reads, "Church refused further cooperation. Subject closed." Meanwhile, evidence of the cross's effects accumulated in unexpected places. In Lyon, a physician's journal from 1894 described treating parishioners who reported feeling disoriented after their parish church's altar cross was replaced. The doctor noted, "Patients describe a sense of disturbance, as if something familiar has been removed from their environment." He observed, "Symptoms persist for 2 to 3 weeks, then gradually resolve." The journal entry is dated March 1894. The church's records confirm its altar cross was removed that same month. In Belgium, on a winter evening in 1897, an engineer measuring magnetic field variations for a mining survey noticed anomalies near churches. His notes, held at the Belgian Geological Survey, recorded, "Unusual magnetic field patterns detected within 30 meters of St. Michael's Church, Brussels. Field strength, 15 microtesla above ambient, Pattern forms concentric circles centered on church altar. He returned 2 weeks later. The anomaly was gone. Church records show the altar cross was removed on the intervening Tuesday. By 1900, the removal program had become industrial in scale. Air smelled of machine oil in workshops across Europe as replacement crosses were manufactured. Thousands of them, all brass or bronze, all explicitly non-magnetic. Invoices from foundries show orders for altar crosses, brass, specification 1891-C, totaling 4,200 units between 1892 and 1905. Specification 1891-C required. Material: brass minimum 85% copper, 15% zinc. No iron content. Weight not to exceed 9 kilograms for standard size. The specification explicitly prohibited magnetic materials. The original crosses, the removed ones, appear in scattered inventory records. In Cologne alone, 127 magnetic crosses were removed between 1892 and 1898. In Vienna, 89. In Paris, 156. The total across documented dioceses exceeds 2,800. Where did they go? Storage records are fragmentary. Some crosses appear in miscellaneous metals inventories, others in obsolete church furnishings. Most appear nowhere, removed from one list, but never added to another. They vanished from documentation. In Munich, on a morning in 1902, a blacksmith hired to break down removed crosses for scrap metal discovered something that changed his understanding. Snow drifted past his workshop windows. He was using a hammer to separate a cross into manageable pieces when he noticed the metal would not fracture normally. His account, preserved in a letter to a technical journal, described, "The iron bends rather than breaks. When I strike it, the metal rings at a specific tone, not the dull thud of normal iron, but a clear pitch like a bell." He measured the frequency, 128 Hertz, the same frequency found in cathedral bells, in resonant chambers, in acoustic architecture. The journal declined to publish his letter. The editor's response: anecdotal observations of limited scientific value. On the rejection letter, someone wrote in pencil, "or observations that raise uncomfortable questions." By 1905, resistance to the removal program had begun to surface quietly. In Strasbourg, a priest refused to surrender his church's altar cross, claiming it had been in continuous use since 1247. Fog pressed against the bishop's palace windows as correspondence escalated. The bishop's final letter, dated November 1905, was explicit. The cross must be removed per directive. Refusal constitutes disobedience. Compliance is not optional. The priest complied. His letter of submission noted, "I surrender the cross under protest. Its removal diminishes the sacred character of our space." The cross was removed December 3, 1905. The priest died 6 weeks later. The death certificate lists natural causes. In his effects, a journal describing the cross's properties: warm to touch in winter, cool in summer, magnetic pull detectable from 3 meters. During Mass, standing near it produced clarity of thought unlike anything else I have experienced. The journal was archived with the diocesan records. Page 17 is missing. Across dioceses, the pattern of documentation destruction became apparent. In Vienna, fire destroyed the Archbishop's records room in 1907, eliminating correspondence related to cross removals. In Cologne, water damage in 1909 rendered inventory records illegible. In Paris, routine disposal in 1912 eliminated obsolete administrative files, including removal directives. By 1910, the paper trail had been systematically erased. What survived were the crosses themselves, some of them in forgotten storage, in private collections, in places bureaucracy overlooked. In 1934, during repairs at a church in Freiburg, workers discovered a magnetic cross hidden behind a false wall panel, apparently concealed rather than surrendered during the 1890s removal program. The cross dated to 1173. Its magnetic field strength measured 0.9 Tesla. The discovery was reported to diocesan authorities. The cross was removed within 48 hours. No record indicates where it went. Modern analysis of surviving magnetic crosses reveals consistent properties. All contain iron with unusually high purity, typically 98 to 99% pure, far exceeding medieval smelting capabilities. The iron contains trace amounts of nickel and cobalt, elements that enhance magnetic properties. The metallurgy suggests knowledge and intention beyond conventional medieval capabilities. In 2003, a magnetic cross from a private collection was examined using modern instruments. The magnetic field formed a toroidal pattern, a donut-shaped field extending approximately 2 meters from the cross's center. Within this field, electromagnetic measurements showed unusual stability, reduced variation in ambient electromagnetic noise, as if the field filtered or dampened random electromagnetic fluctuations. Researchers noted, the field geometry would create a zone of electromagnetic stability around the altar, potentially affecting electrical activity in the immediate environment. Human nervous systems operate on electrical impulses. In 2011, volunteers were exposed to magnetic fields matching those produced by the historical crosses. The study, conducted at the University of Vienna, measured physiological responses. Results showed decreased stress hormone levels, increased alpha-wave brain activity associated with calm focus, and improved performance on attention tasks, all when subjects sat within the magnetic field geometry produced by the crosses. The study was published in an obscure journal of bioelectromagnetics. It received minimal attention. One researcher noted in private correspondence, the medieval crosses created environments that measurably affected human physiology. Someone understood this. Someone else wanted it stopped. If history is written by survivors, who erase the rest? Today, churches across Europe display altar crosses, brass, bronze, non-magnetic, beautiful, symbolic, inert, in forgotten storage rooms and private collections, in museums where they are labeled simply liturgical objects. 13th to 16th century, the magnetic crosses survive. Some still generate fields measurable with instruments. Some have demagnetized over time. All were removed, systematically, between 1892 and 1907. The directives that ordered their removal specified no reason. The replacement crosses serve the same symbolic purpose. The only difference is the magnetic field, present in the originals, absent in the replacements. Why remove them? Why replace specifically with non-magnetic materials? Why destroy the documentation? The answers, if they were ever written down, were destroyed with the directives, lost in the fires, discarded as obsolete administrative files. What remains is the pattern of removal, the specification requiring non-magnetic replacements, the systematic elimination of documentation, and the crosses themselves in storage in darkness, some still generating the fields that someone in 1891 decided could not continue. Yes, dear listeners, we have come to the end of this presentation. You can write your thoughts in the comments and we can discuss them. Thank you for valuing my videos, interacting with them, and listening until the end. More to come.